It's the Rich Show. I can swear and stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
I mean, I
Fucking
figured as
absolutely,
much,
yeah.
but like, it's already hard to like censor myself, like at the yoga studio.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's funny because my last guest, her name is Leah. She does speed dating in Des Moines.
Like, she runs
runs
it?
the company. Yeah.
got it.
And she was like, is it okay if I swear, because I swear a lot? And I don't think she swore once. So
We'll see.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe with
I
the
don't know
mic
what
in front of
happened.
my face, I feel a little more behaved.
Maybe.
If things get weird, I'm gonna do that.
I've seen you on stage with a microphone in your hand, so I
That's
highly
true.
doubt.
I do cuss and tell stories that I can see my
Yes,
parents
yes.
are like, that's our daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw your parents last time I was there. Are they going to be at any of your new shows coming up?
They're going to be my Christmas show on the 12th.
The 12th? I'm going to be there.
It's my birthday.
Is that your birthday?
It's going to be my big birthday party.
Oh, so you're a December Sagittarius. That's interesting. So, man, we're like opposite sides of one fucked up coin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two sags on a podcast.
So, do you, and your husband's Sagittarius, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised I remember that.
Yeah.
And so where's he at on that scale?
He's the opposite of me.
Okay, so he
was born November 30th.
Okay.
So he's right at the beginning.
Yeah, so he's actually in the middle of it, right?
Is he in the middle?
Yeah, so I'm in the beginning. I'm 23rd.
Oh, okay.
So I'm on the cusp of Scorpio or whatever.
Okay.
So I think that probably you and I are probably on the edges.
Yeah.
And he's probably in the normal
Yeah.
range of what you would be.
But he's like, well, because we talked about this, because he's like he's the yin to my yang, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like normal.
Right.
Because there's going to be a lot of burping in this
all right.
podcast too.
We'll live.
And then, no, because I had told you that, and you were like, oh, that's super normal for like male Sagittarius and female Sagittarius to be really different.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked it up, and you were right.
It's pretty true, huh?
It's true.
Yeah.
And I also live with
And
her,
you also
obviously.
know for sure.
I don't need to believe that, but I had to go online to confirm it, and I fucking live with one. Like, oh,
Well, sometimes it's nice to look at that stuff and go, yeah, how do they get that shit right?
yeah. Yeah, there's some weird stuff.
It's not religion and it's not magic, but if you hand 10,000 people a piece of paper that were all born under the same sign and they kind of answer the questions the fucking same, it's not magic, it's math. And then if you hand 10,000 people who were born under Aquarius and they kind of answer the same and there's a lot of commonality, it's not magic, it's math. It's these people all feel kind of the same way. And they all kind of act the same way sometimes too. Very rarely have I met somebody where they told me that their sign was something. I was like, there's no way that you're not Sagittarius because, they're like us with the wanderlust and the all over the place. And, and I'm like, there's no way you're not a Sagittarius. And they're something like a Capricorn or whatever.
Yeah, it usually aligns. My brother's October 12th.
He's probably Scorpio.
Is that Scorpio?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've delved into that, but... whenever I would date somebody, I would look them up and say, am I compatible? And then I realized nobody's fucking compatible with Sagittarius. So
No, Sagittarius isn't really meant to be with anybody.
No. Maybe they're meant to be with everybody. I don't know. No, hello.
Depends on what year of my life we're talking about.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That stuff's kind of cool. I'm surprised. I know one other Sagittarius, female. And her and I would not get along. But also, we grew up together. She was my best friend's sister.
Yeah.
So that would have never happened anyway. I
also will say, if my husband and I would have met when I was, like, we're 12 years apart. So if we would have met, like, and we were, like, the same age, if we weren't 12 years apart, I guess is what I'm saying, I don't think we would have gotten along.
No way.
Because he was in college, he used to get in a lot of fights. His drunk thing was punching out car windows. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I would have done so well with that. Because I would have also probably been punching out
windows. Yeah.
Actually, mine was klepto. I used to steal stuff.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I was a sophomore in college, my entire wall, like in my dorm room,
you had a trophy wall.
Because I'd wake up and be like, nice.
I had a friend once that he had a trophy shelf and wall, and he would steal signage from fast food companies.
Isn't it weird? You just kind of get in like a...
I think
Yeah.
I think that collection probably would be worth some money nowadays because
Probably.
all kinds of crazy like
real
Taco Bell
signs.
stuff. Yeah.
See, and like mine wasn't anything like it wasn't anything that anyone would actually care about. Like I don't think it was anything that I don't know.
What do you mean though?
Like I would like
me a for
like
example.
flags and stuff from like because I went to Drake and so I'd steal like various like flags or various like little like poster signage and stuff. It wasn't like I don't know.
I mean, you're talking yourself into it.
I don't know.
And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but there's some stiff-necked somebody out there
There's
who's
somebody.
curling their toes right now. It's,
Yeah.
This is one of those people that steals shit from me that doesn't matter in the world, right?
They stole my flags.
Right.
I should steal some Trump signs.
Why? You that big of a fan of Trump?
No, hate him.
I'm just fucking with you.
I hate him.
I don't hate Trump at all, but I try not to hate.
Yeah.
I don't like him, but I don't hate him.
I don't hate.
I think I like what he stands for, which is anarchy.
Does he though?
Yeah, I think for me he does.
Yeah.
And I don't care what he really thinks he's about, but to me, it's somebody who might actually blow up the system of this whole two-party. We only get to vote for these two schlubs.
I think.
Why are we picking between these assholes?
Yeah. Are we? Is this happening?
I don't know.
Okay, we don't know.
Jacob, are we recording? Yeah. Okay. Well.
Oh, is this the real podcast?
Yeah, this is gonna be probably.
Okay.
This is the fake podcast.
Well, I don't know. We're just like shooting the shit.
Welcome to Rich Duncan's fake podcast.
Featuring Lauren Vilmain.
That's what podcasting is. Just shooting the shit.
Okay, no, but going back, what were we talking about? Trump, I feel I get that concept that he's like going to blow up the system or something like that, but I just don't think he is. I don't think he really is. I think he's too egotistical.
I think he's egotistical. I think he's currently blowing up the system.
Okay.
I think he keeps picking these people for his cabinet members or whatever that is making both Republicans and Democrats fucking their hair is on fire right now.
Here's my problem though, is it's the voice that he gives to the people that are shitty. Like he gives voice to people that hate more than I hate Trump. Do you get what I mean?
People that you hate more than you hate Trump?
No. Like the people out in the United States.
Oh, the people who hate.
That hate, period. Like I hate this type of person. Or I think this type of person is the problem. And if we get rid of this type of person, then everything will be hunky dory.
I haven't really met any of those people, so I have to reserve judgment on that. Like I've never really met somebody who, to be fair, like if I'm being completely transparent, honest, when I was a single dad, I wouldn't hang out with a dad I thought was bad. So I usually get rid of people out of my life that are not good.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, I'd have to say that I don't have a whole lot of people. If I knew somebody was a racist or a bigot or anything, and honestly, if I find out that like there's a liberal person in my life who just won't be around Trump supporters, even though I'm not one and they would be around me, I really don't want them in my life either. Because if you're going to preach inclusion and all that kind of stuff, but then you can't include people, then we're probably not going to match up. You know?
Yeah. There needs, it's all about the gray area, right?
And also,
it's all about the in between.
Yeah, if you don't like having people in your life that you can laugh at, then there's something fucking wrong with you, right?
Yeah. My problem comes down to like when it's, like I said, when it's I hate or I think that if we get rid of like immigrants, like if we get rid of this type of person, immigrants, then all of a sudden our problems are going to be solved. Which there are some people that do truly.
There might be some people. I don't think it's a huge percentage personally.
Yeah.
But I also think that so the only problem I have with immigration and or people coming over not within the rules. I say it like that because I have a feeling that you might be upset if I said illegal immigration.
No.
But I don't really.
No. I get no, because I like I said, it's hard for me because I can kind of like understand a lot of sides of things because I was raised Republican. But then seeing my parents go like really far right, I'm like, ooh, it's like
that's different. Yeah.
That's different for me. Like and I'm not saying I'm not a Democrat that's like that thinks the political system is hunky dory.
Right.
It's fucked up, and we as middle class, I'm assuming you're middle class. I'm just making the assumption.
I own a podcast
Is
studio.
this
Of course, I'm
is this
middle
the
class.
time that you tell me that you're fucking loaded?
No,
And then
it's
I,
not.
Throw my ring and I'm like, sorry, Jeremy, it's
No,
me and
no.
Rich now.
No, Jeremy, I can't handle her. Keep her.
He can't keep me either. No, but that like as if everything's working well for us. It's not, and I get that, and there's it's the one percenters and the people who are really on the tippy top that are really benefiting from the way that things work right now.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the idea of we're gonna blow up the system, right?
Right.
It's just all the other implications that come with that. Like within, if it was just that, it'd be, if that was, which is almost more of like a libertarian kind of side of things, which I can, like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. But then when it's like, we're going to be libertarian and we don't want control of the government, we don't want government having too much oversight, but then we're also going to tell kids and libraries what books they can have. And we're going to tell women what they can or cannot do with their reproductive system. That's that's my line that I'm like, again, if we were able to have more gray area, which if we had more than two parties, I think there would be a shit ton more gray area, but there's not.
Yeah.
So if this were to lead to more gray area and more pockets of different parties that people could actually vote for and get behind, then I say great. But I just don't.
I think it will.
Oh God, I don't know,
think
man.
it will. I don't think it will right away.
Yeah.
With the problem, one of the problems with our society now is that we expect things to happen so fast.
Oh, for sure.
But we got to this spot
Yeah.
on a very slow hill.
Yeah.
And we got to this spot because people, the government, whoever, the deep state, whatever the conspiracy people theory you want to talk about, the actual they and society at large will take away a little bit.
Yeah.
And then let you squeal a little bit, and then you'll get comfortable again. And then they'll take out a little bit more. It's a very slow roll. It's like, so I'll tell you this story. I love the fact that I can go into a restaurant and nobody can smoke in there.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that the government's able to tell business owners that they have to not allow people to smoke in their establishment or their bar or their bookstore or their coffee shop. I hate that we've gotten to the point to where we're allowing the government to tell us what business owners can and can't do. If people don't want to go to a bar where they're smoking, they should not go.
Yeah.
If they don't want to go to a restaurant that's smoking, they should not go. But we shouldn't be telling those people that they can't do that. So but that's one of those things that they just took away, and the smokers. I've never been a smoker. They were kind of upset at it, right? And then they got comfortable with it, and it became
they've
okay,
settled into it,
right? And and that's just a small example, or maybe even a large example of what they do, right? How do you? I mean, I don't want to get on the political topics of guns, but how are you? Are you a 2A advocate? Are you against guns?
We have guns.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like I said, political subjects are hard for me because I do see a lot of gray area, and our society has become so one direction or the other.
Right.
Where I just don't think it can't be that cut and dry.
I think what scares me about some of the books that, that are on the ban list that people are kind of fighting for, I don't know that like anything pornographic needs to be shown to a 4-year-old. And I think most people would say that. Now, and I haven't seen any of these books.
But again, if it's up to the library, like you said, it's up to the restaurant.
That's the government. That's the government though. Right, so the library.
Like you mean like a public library?
Yeah, or a school library. Like if somebody's got a personal library, I think that's fine. But I don't think that's what they're talking about. Is that what they're talking about?
That's not what they're talking about. But my problem is with kids who, I don't think there's a lot of pornographics. I think what people are considering pornographic is the idea that it's if it's same sex or if it's body discovery or things like that, where maybe for a lot of kids, they wouldn't gravitate towards that. But then for some kids, it's actually affirming that who they are or how they were made is okay.
So, but now
but then again, I'm much more like sexually open in that sense too.
Yeah, and me too.
Or even like, think about like when we were kids and you'd get like the encyclopedia and you're like,
encyclopedia?
Oh God,
how about the National Geographic?
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, it's a penis. Like,
however, or the biology.
Yeah,
and you're like,
yes,
oh, this
but
is
that's
skin,
what
and then
I'm
all of a sudden you're
saying,
like, it's muscle.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I just also think that our society should be a lot more open. I'm not saying everyone should.
I think that we have to be careful with harming other children and this isn't really a statement, like it's not a
Yeah.
political statement. I would like people to be a little bit more open to not harming other children, with by trying to help a small percentage of people. That's all I'm worried about. But also, I'm an old white guy who they tell to shut up. Right?
Yeah. Shut up, Rich.
Right, and so I don't have a skin in the game until my grandchildren show up.
I just don't think there's enough kids. I just don't think it would harm the masses.
But I can tell you,
things more open.
I can tell you as what am I, Gen Xer, that my children will all have their conversations with their kids in a different fashion. Not everybody will.
Yeah.
Right? Because some people are like hardcore Christian.
Yeah.
Or they're hardcore Catholic.
But like,
and they might not have like, it's okay if you're gay or it's this or that, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that overall that it's a slow sliding scale that we're eventually getting more and more open to these conversations.
Yeah.
The bigots, I see the world that the bigots are really they're subsiding. It's not as big as it once was. It's the people aren't walking around with sheets, you know, covering them, the KKK or whatever. It's not. It's a lot less. It might be hidden, but I don't personally know a whole lot of racist people. And maybe I'm not saying you do.
Well, you might. They just don't talk about it.
Well, maybe that might be true. I mean,
Yeah.
that might be true. I don't know, but I would prefer them to not talk about it because if they don't talk about it, because children aren't born.
But that's
racist.
the problem, I think, with a lot of the Trump stuff is I think it's given voice to the people that do want to talk about it, and that they become louder about who or what they are against, or that somehow it's changing America in a negative direction. Where I think my big thing, if you can't tell, is women's rights and like sexual fluidity, right? That like.
Wait a minute, women have rights?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Do you want me to sit? Can I get naked on this podcast?
If you
Just
want
like,
to, I mean, I'm not going to stop you.
Got freshly waxed for this. Did you hear that one? Is that good?
So,
Sorry.
I think that I'm all for women's rights.
Yeah.
And
of course. And I'm not saying you're not. It's
no, but I want to.
It's what's scary and again, it's always the subjects that affect us most, like personally,
That's fair.
that are going to like get us riled up. And for me, the idea that even in our state right now, there's the heartbeat bill where I can't get an abortion if my fetus has a heartbeat.
Right.
Well, to be frank with you, most women don't know they're pregnant.
When
the fetus has a heart, they don't fucking know. And so it's for me, it's past like the people say, oh, well, you can still get an abortion if it was incest or if it was rape or something. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But what about just the everyday person like me that I may realize I'm not ready to have a kid. I'm not financially able to have a kid. I don't want a kid, and shit happens. I've been on birth control since I was in my teens, but shit happens. So don't tell me I'm not being responsible. I've been responsible about it my whole life.
Yeah,
but,
I don't.
like for me, that's my biggest it's not like I'm, there's this idea, I think with people that are anti-abortion that are like, save the babies, which I just think I'm like, I'm not actively like going out in the public and I'm like, kill the babies. Like that's not at all. That's not at all.
But maybe we should.
That's the title of this podcast. Kill the babies.
All right.
Lauren Vilmain says, kill the babies. Yeah. No, because not at all. Are you kidding me? And I remember my dad one time, he was like, and I love my parents, but he was like, well, what if it was, because I'm a huge animal person. He's like, well, what if it was a kitten? What if it was a kitten and you aborted the kittens? And I was like, I mean, I wouldn't want that, but also there's an overpopulation of domestic animals. So, you know what I mean? It's just, it's like one of those subjects that gets me like hot and bothered.
Yeah.
Because it's my fucking life.
I think usually the people on the left do get hot and bothered. And I think the people on the far right get hot and bothered.
Yes.
And I think the people like me that are in the middle don't really give a fuck. Like, I don't care whether you murder babies. And that could be the link to the podcast or the title. But also, I shouldn't tell you whether or not.
This is going so well.
I should not be able to tell you whether you do or not.
Exactly. But that's the thing. You fall, based on what I'm hearing, on a more libertarian
I'm
standing.
definitely I'm probably more anarchist than I am libertarian.
Yeah. But if we're going to give it a more like socio-political name.
I mean.
Probably.
Sure.
libertarian.
I am. There's a lot of things the libertarians do that I don't necessarily agree with, but I mean, I'm against regulations.
Yeah.
You know, I'm against a lot of taxes. You know, I'm against the war machine. I'm actually against a lot of things.
Yeah.
That I think the left used to be against that I don't know that they are anymore.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Republicans and Democrats have drastically changed, I think, within the past like 40 years.
I would say maybe even the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I think Trump has changed
both
of those parties.
But isn't that frustrating though that
one man can do that?
Well, no, not necessarily that it's the digging in the heels, right? Like
By who?
that both.
Okay.
Both? Are you kidding me?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to get your take here.
Both,
so
for sure.
I think that...
Did I vote for Kamala? Fucking course I did. Let me be very clear.
Did I vote for Trump? No, I did not.
Hey, there you go.
I didn't vote for Kamala either.
Did you write in?
I didn't vote.
You didn't vote. Okay.
So I am anarchist enough to know that if everybody would stop voting, if we could get everybody to stop voting, those people would look at each other and go like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
You know?
See, I want to be clear. I'm not the type of person that thinks that Democrats have it all figured out, because I know that there are people that are like blue, blue, blue. That's the only way to go. Right. And that's the only way we're going to save ourselves. Do I find it annoying that it's a lesser of two evils situation? Of course I do. Mm-hmm. Was I going to vote for the first woman president? You bet your fucking ass I was.
Well, you might still get to, but I might be a Republican.
Yeah, well, and isn't that ironic? I thought about that too. Mm-hmm. But to be clear, I wouldn't vote for a woman president if I didn't believe in her. I wouldn't vote for a woman just because it was a woman. I would vote for...
I mean, I wouldn't vote for a woman president unless I thought she was a good leader.
Yeah.
I've only voted for one president in my entire life.
Really?
Can you guess who it was?
Bush. No, it wasn't Bush.
I mean, I would vote for Bush, but not that Bush.
Let me think. You probably voted for Trump the first time.
No.
No?
No, I voted for Obama.
You did?
The first time. The second time I did not vote.
Okay.
Because he didn't bring any hope and change, like he said he would.
Yeah.
He was the first.
Well, I thought maybe the first round of Trump when it was like
I knew Trump was going to win the first time.
I knew he was going to win both times.
Yeah. The second time I thought
I guess the first and third.
Yeah. Well, the second time he won, you knew. I think that the Democrats should have chosen somebody else.
Okay, that's a great subject. They made a huge mistake. Mm-hmm. Biden should have stepped down. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
One, he should have stepped down a hell of a lot sooner.
A lot sooner, yes.
Two, they should not have picked someone so close to him, because people saw Kamala as just an extension of Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge mistake, because that's all people talked about.
Well,
that was
she didn't really distinguish herself very well.
No, but she had what, like fucking 3 months?
No, but I mean, look.
In the whole aspect. But here's the thing.
In this conversation, you and I are going to know each other better than we have ever known each other.
That's true.
And it's only going to be an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours.
How could she have distinguished herself? I'm not, because she was still his vice president. She still has a role to play in politics.
I can tell you how. She could have said, this is going to change drastically. These are the things I'm going to do. And then she could have told us how she was going to just drastically change. And I didn't get it. But
she wasn't going. She's been in politics for too long. She's not going to play that.
She decided to play politics.
Exactly.
But see, the difference is Trump doesn't play politics. You call all of America garbage, and then he shows up in a garbage truck. That's not politics. That's the shit you and I would do. So now he's playing to the everyman.
Yes. Oh, and he's great at that.
Yeah.
He's great
at
that.
And so she needed to do that, right? She needed to.
No, but I get why people voted for him, in the sense of he's not a politician. He's going to shake things up. Mm-hmm. He's going to fucking blow up the system. And because ultimately what people should see about Trump being elected is that people are fucking pissed, and they don't like the way things are going.
Yes.
In our country.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Huge wake-up call for the Democrat Party.
Yes.
But it might be a huge wake-up for Americans.
If they would have, and I voted for Hillary too, even though I'm not a big Hillary fan, let me be clear. I don't think any politician is ever going to truly 100% change my life.
Here we go.
I don't.
Yeah.
But if they would have chosen Bernie over Hillary, that would have made a turn for the Democrats.
He'd have been the second person I voted for.
That would have been a smart decision that they did not make.
And I consider myself a conservative. And not a Republican, but a conservative.
That's fair.
And a conservative in its nutshell is somebody who basically is trying to protect the past and slow down progression, but not just slow down progression. Because we have buildings and we have skyscrapers. That's all progression, right?
Yeah.
We've got electricity. We've got all kinds of shit. We've got electric cars. That's progression too.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I'm a conservative of things, so things don't spin out of control. Because if you change too fast, if you have a business, if you have a government, if you have anything, and the changes happen too rapidly, and nobody's thinking about what does this actually do, then you start spinning out of control, right? Then you have true chaos. And so
there's your anarchy, man.
that's not anarchy. That's chaos. Those are two different things. So, do you have a favorite football team?
I mean, I guess supposed to be the Minnesota Vikings.
Supposed to be because you're
because that's where I grew up.
So I liken the Republicans and the Democrats like football teams. People get ensconced in that team.
Is it like Cowboys versus the Patriots?
Basically, or Cowboys
I'm
versus
thinking of like the two
Skins
biggest
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Where there's that rivalry, and then you're on board with that team too much. It's too loyal, right?
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you switch this? So you've moved from Washington to Arizona. Why aren't you a Cardinals fan now, right?
Yeah.
Or you've moved to Missouri. Why aren't you a Chiefs fan? And so the people cling and hold on to that force, that team. The Democrats had these people that were clinging on, hoping that they were going to do the things that they were going to do that they promised, and then they didn't, right? And I think when they saw that Trump does what he promises, whether it's good or bad, it's not my point. They just want somebody who's going to do what they say they're going to do, right? So the thing about Trump that I do like is he's an asshole, but he also tells you he's an asshole, right? He doesn't hide that. He doesn't hide who he is.
Yeah, but I just don't want my president to be an asshole.
Well, no, I mean, I think all the presidents have been assholes. So this is where we get into this conversation.
Can I have a secret, like instead of like a big fart, just like a little squeaker?
Yeah, go.
No, not me actually.
Oh. What is it? I was like, go ahead.
No. I mean, do it. Fart on the podcast.
Lauren's gonna play the trumpet right now for us.
No. I mean, like, I guess I'm of the belief that, like I said, politicians are just shitty. So I'd rather have a secretive shitty politician than an overtly shitty politician.
Well, that's...
Which I don't know.
That's like saying you'd rather have a toxic boyfriend that you don't know that's toxic.
I guess.
Instead of having a toxic boyfriend that
because
you know
I don't
is
think it's
toxic.
really going to affect me anyway.
Well, probably not at a national level, right? But I think that overall... I had to go on a business trip to Virginia recently, and on my way back to the airport, I had a Lyft driver, and he was very upset that, that Trump won, and and he's worried, and everybody's afraid, and this and that, and
yeah,
I told him essentially it was a long talk. I said, none of these people are working for you.
No.
And the problem is...
I mean, that's what politicians are supposed to be.
The problem is Americans
not.
still think that these people are working for them. But meanwhile, you got people like Nancy Pelosi, and every time they change a policy, her stocks go up because her husband has bought stocks in Tesla or whatever.
Yeah.
They put the new Green Deal in, or whatever. She's on the inside track, and they're making tons of money off of it.
Yeah.
And so she's not there for her constituents. Right? She's there to pad her pockets. And most of them are like that, except for the freshman senators and congressmen. And so they're put in a hole, and then they're probably groomed. I'm probably going to hate saying that word, but they're probably groomed to figure out whether or not they're going to step in line and do all the things they're supposed to do.
Well, because that's how they get out. I mean, it's just like having a corporate job, right? Where you have to play.
No, because you can get fired from a corporate job.
No, but what I mean is you have to play the game to
get a raise?
To get where you want to go.
You shouldn't have to. You should be able to do it on your merits, right? So when the government...
But I'm just saying that's how it seemingly works, right?
Yeah, but that's capitalism, right? But
Yeah.
capitalism shouldn't be in government. Those people are just there to vote the way that we want them to vote. So all of Iowa says, you're our congressman in the federal
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
They go off and they vote. But if they don't vote the way we all want them to vote, then they're not representing us because they're really just the mouthpiece.
Yes.
But what's happening is these people get in there and they start doing whatever they want to do. And then I don't even think they're I don't think that most of the people in Iowa know what, and I'm sorry, I've only been here for 2 years, whoever the senators and congressmen are, what they're voting on.
Yeah.
There's a very small percentage of people who track that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the overall problem is that nobody's paying attention to that bullshit.
Yeah. Well, and I wish I could say I was a person that knew everything that was going on all the time. No.
No, you got other shit to work on.
No, I'm not. I try to not get like worked up about certain things because like I said, obviously there's certain subjects that I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
so that's why the wheels don't get greased and that's why they fall off, right?
Yeah.
Because the wealthy, they get into these positions. I mean, do you realize how much money they spent on this one election?
Oh.
Or this election cycle
Crazy.
was billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? And that wasn't their money.
Yeah.
It was people's money.
Why do you think Trump wants to be president? Do you think it's really to like shake things up and change, or is it just another notch on his belt?
I will say this: I don't understand why anybody would want to be president. I wouldn't want to be the fucking president. But also, if you're a wealthy person and you can have anything you want, and and you can spend your days golfing, which is what you want to do, right? And you could buy anything you want. Your wife is an supermodel, right? Your kids are all in your business, and they're doing well, and they're succeeding. They've all gone to nice schools. They've all got great educations. They're very successful. And what more would you really need? So as a man, my legacy is my children, right? That's just old school conservative values. Yeah. And then do I need to do anything else in my life? Not really. Yeah. I'll wait for my grandchildren to show up, and then I'll be the best granddad I can be. Yeah. And then I'll die. So why Trump wants to be president, why he wants all this fucking responsibility, and why he wants to do this stuff, maybe it's egotistical, but also...
I think it's 100% egotistical.
But also, why do you think Biden didn't drop out?
Yeah.
He's just as big an egomaniac.
I think you kind of have to be.
He just can't articulate to say it. Yeah. He's too busy battling the stairs, right?
I know.
So...
I saw this video. I did vote for Biden. Not that I was, again, not thrilled about it, but I was like, what the fuck ever. But it was a video of Biden, obviously, which is unfortunate if it is.
Him falling, tripping over himself.
Yeah, dementia and whatever else, which is a serious issue. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that shit is funny, but it is when he put it to a video of, like, the caption was, what I look like trying to order Chinese food, like off the, like, like when you're looking and you're like, you know what I mean? And I remember I showed it to Jeremy and I was like, this is
Look, if we can't laugh at this shit, like, I've seen like dance remixes of Trump saying they're eating the cats and the dogs. Have you seen that? Yes. I mean, if you can't laugh at that stuff, then
you do. And well, like you said, right? Well, you said this before we started, but it was it is like a reality show. Yeah. I mean, it totally is. And it is why did I watch the debate? It wasn't because I was curious of who I was going to vote for. No, you want to see who was going to fuck up. Oh my God. And it was so entertaining. It was so entertaining.
But see, it was entertaining to you probably, I'm guessing, because Trump said the cats and dogs things, and it was kind of, and Kamala kind of kept it buttoned down. She did pretty good.
She did great. I thought she did.
I think she did pretty good.
Okay.
Let me say this. I think that J.D. Vance and the Waltz debate was way better than, as far as political, like who would I want to be president? Sure. I would have rather have chosen between those two than the two that we got to choose from. Yeah. Right? And I probably would have chosen J.D. Vance. Not because he's tracking women's periods or whatever they keep saying. But I don't really like Waltz that much. There's just something about him. But also I wouldn't have voted for either one of them.
Okay, here's the thing about Waltz though that made me laugh is that people were so, like, the tampon Tim thing, that people were so upset that he put tampons in men's or boys' bathrooms. Right. And I remember talking to Jeremy about it. He's like, we wouldn't have fucking cared. Like, we probably would have ended up just like dipping them in the toilet water and throwing them, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, but it's not like he would have been like, well, golly, I think I want a vagina now. Like,
And for anybody who doesn't know, if you soak a tampon and throw it against a wall, it will stick. Don't leave it there too long because it will turn into stucco.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what Jeremy was talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that so here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think the left doesn't quite grasp when it comes to the right. The right doesn't want certain things, and they're going to put their feet down.
Yeah.
The left doesn't want certain things that the right wants, and they want to put their feet down. And there is no more compromise in government and between people anymore. Somehow we can't compromise.
So the gray area, it doesn't.
So
it
do there
fucking
need to be
exist.
tampons in the boys' bathroom? There doesn't need to be.
No. Is it a
But-
huge?
but
but it's a funny thing
it a
that
huge
people
deal?
were like,
No.
that people like were again like fucking tampon Tim.
Sure. But also, I'll be honest with you, I think that in public schools, they need to start having individual bathrooms.
Oh, like rather than
one big bathroom, they
Yeah.
need to have individual bathrooms.
But you could have definitely
needs to be
conservative or
it needs to be
Republicans
it
that
needs to
are
be
pissed.
multi-sex
Yeah.
bathrooms. I mean, there's a toilet,
Yeah.
and there's one door, and there's a sink.
Yeah.
And a kid, regardless of how they feel about their sexuality,
Yeah.
they can walk into that restroom and do potty like the rest of us,
Yeah.
and then wash their hands and come out of the bathroom.
Because that's all it is, right?
Or porta potties. You know, we all use porta potties, and those are unisex bathrooms.
There you go.
So I think the problem is like nobody's willing to actually like fix the actual issue.
Yeah.
The actual issue is that even if you're a boy and you walk into the boys' bathroom and there's another boy and that boy is bigger than you and he decides that he wants to sexually assault you, he is capable of doing that whether you're a boy or a girl,
Yeah.
right? So if we're worried about people being sexually assaulted, make individual bathrums.
Yeah.
One kid walks in.
It's not.
They
You
lock
don't have to be
themselves in.
opposite sex to get
That's-
sexually assaulted.
That's right.
Like it. You can do it to any. I was thinking about doing it right now to you, actually.
We are
Yeah.
opposite sex.
I
by the
know.
way.
I was ready to.
And just to let you know, I have been sexually assaulted before.
You
so
have?
I have.
Oh golly, that was
So,
a bad joke.
It's okay. I'm
Remember
not,
when I said I
Yep,
used
yep.
my zipper?
I'm not as triggered as you might think I would be.
Ruh-roh. I won't. I promise.
So
You're safe with me, Rich.
I'm safe with you, and safe in Lauren's loving arms.
Yes, exactly. In my bosom.
Okay, so let's talk about singing.
Oh, this is a quick subject change.
Yeah,
I
quick-
actually thought you were trying to do a subject change when you mentioned football, and I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, all
Like,
right,
oh, here we
let's
go. Yeah. So the first time I heard you sing, I was walking down Ingersoll. I think it was Ingersoll Live, probably a year ago or
Oh
two. I'm
yeah,
not
that
sure.
was not this past summer, but the summer before.
Yep.
Time
And
goes by fast.
You did Ingersoll Live happen this summer?
It did. I
Okay.
wasn't at it.
Okay, I wasn't either, but I would have been.
You
just
weren't
walking.
there. You weren't there because I wasn't
That's
there.
true.
You were like, Lauren Vilmain isn't singing. I'm not fucking going.
So I was walking down the road with our friend Steffi,
yes.
and I hear this powerful voice, and it's weird how they set up because there's two stages at the opposite ends of the street.
Yes.
And it's almost like Battle of the Bands.
I
At
know.
a distance.
I know.
It's.
Because you could like see them
I'm like,
all the way
what
down.
is going on here?
We'll fucking get you, man.
And I heard this powerful voice. I'm like, man, who is that singing? And you were with a band.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember who
Heath
the band
Allen.
was.
Heath
Yeah.
Allen, who I still work with.
Okay.
Yep.
And like, so a little bit a backstory about me. Like, if I'm driving down the road, I'm probably not listening to a woman sing. And it's not a misogynist thing. It's just the guy singing it, whatever he's singing about, probably means more to me. And if I'm going to sing along terribly, then I will sing along with him. And then
Well, it's different timbres too. Like
it's just, and it just it feels better for me and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, that's a powerful voice. And then the other guy got on, Keith, whatever his name is, Keith.
Heath, like the candy bar.
I don't want to mess him up. What's his name?
Heath. Well, his name's Heath Patchell, but he goes by Heath Allen.
Okay,
And
Heath Allen and his band.
Yeah.
And then you were off. And then so we waited for a while to see if you were going to get back on. We waited. And I look at Stephanie and goes, what are these people's problems? She's obviously awesome. I had no idea who you were. I didn't know that we would know each other later on in life. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And then you finally got back on for a little bit more. And then we ended up leaving at some point because I think it was shutting down about that point. But I remember thinking, wow, that's just kind of amazing. And then we met at some point in time, and I think that I picked up who you were, even though I wasn't anywhere near you, but I thought, this is an amazing singer. And then now I just kind of, like, whenever I can find tickets or whenever I see that it's happening, I'm like, I'm in, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even for Christmas.
Especially for Christmas.
Especially for Christmas. Yeah, I always say to people, I'm like, it's not like, if you come to my Christmas show, it's not like you're getting the full, like, Lauren experience because it's Christmas music.
Yeah.
But it's Christmas music.
I agree.
And it's like, but I will say, I do all the nostalgic tunes for Christmas, but I also do a B.B. King tune called Backdoor Santa, which has all of the connotations that you would expect.
Yep. I've heard it.
Backdoor Santa. And it's, so I do get to add, like, I do try to add some of the flair, but in my heart, I am a nostalgic. Like, I always end my show with, my Christmas show, that is, with, it'd be weird if I did in the summer, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Right.
Like, because it's just like, oh, it's like the most warm.
Yep.
Oh.
I remember last Christmas, the one I went to, I think your nieces and nephews were there, or your nephews
My
were
two
there?
nephews.
Your two nephews, yeah.
Yeah, I did Ella Fitzgerald's version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Right.
and Declan was yelling like,
Yep.
like Pinocchio.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I've seen your jazz as well.
My what?
Your jazz or your blues.
Oh yeah.
I've seen you on stage with a I don't know what to call it, but I'm pretty sure there were trumpets. Does Heath Allen do they have trumpets or?
He's had trumpets. Yep. The NOLA Jazz Band, who I perform with too. Depending if it's a full group, they have brass
Right.
as well. Yeah.
What do you like to sing the most?
Blues is my favorite.
Blues?
Yeah. I like the guttural stuff.
Yeah.
I like the stuff that you can feel like when I sing it, I can feel it in here.
Yeah, in your tummy.
Yeah. I don't know if the camera can see
Nope.
that, but I'm pointing.
That's why I said in
Ready?
your tummy. Yeah.
Here. Down here.
Down here.
Not further, just right here. Just right in the guts. That's the stuff I really like to do. And there's a lot of musicians who would say it's kind of basic because a lot of blues tunes are very similar in chordally speaking. 12-bar blues is a lot of times like you'll be with a group and they're like, oh, they'll look at the chart like, oh, it's just 12-bar blues. And you're like, okay, cool. So it can be really repetitive, but there's something, I don't know. It's like that. The stories are good, and it's kind of, I guess the working man's music. Which
Is it your
kinda
comfort
nice.
spot? Would you call
I
that?
don't know. I guess. Yeah. I guess it's my comfort spot because I can really, what I would say, like I can really rip. You know what I mean? Like I can. It's not overly complicated. It just feels good to sing, and it's fun to sing.
Yeah.
But I originally did like opera and musical theater and all that stuff, which is very complex and great. But I also grew up listening to like folk music and rock and roll.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I've now teetered into again. And jazz I really like, but I don't scat. I don't like scatting.
Yeah.
It doesn't interest me at all. I don't like listening to scatting. It's not my jam.
Last time I scatted was a long time ago.
Do it.
I think I meant something
You're
else.
good. Oh! You didn't scat today?
No, I did not.
Do we need to go to a doctor? Talk about that?
No.
Okay.
No. Definitely
well,
not.
either-
There might be something wrong. I don't want to know.
The beer might help. Get you a little worked up. But no, scatting, the music version, the boobly booblies.
Yeah.
It's not my jam. Because a lot of people be like, oh, wow, you're a jazz singer. Like, do you scat? And I'm like,
You do occasionally. There's some times
I
where
mean,
you
there's
hit
a
something.
little,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a little, but not in the same sense as like a true like jazz vocalist would. But I also was never trained in it. But I'm a firm believer of you perform what you really like listening to, and I don't like listening to it.
I feel like it was maybe 6 months ago, maybe longer, that you told me that you were recording some stuff.
I was. It's been paused. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Not for anything. Just life.
Yeah.
Life happens.
Just
And it's a shit ton of work.
Yeah.
Which, that's when I was going through, when I was going through yoga training. It was something I was focusing on, and then it just kind of paused, and it's still paused for no real reason, but I'm kind of okay with it, to be
Okay.
totally honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not feeling it?
Not feeling it.
Yeah, that's
feeling it.
pretty rough. And I think you were telling me that musicians were able to get you the stuff that you needed from a distance. Like you guys weren't always in the same room.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
It's amazing what.
Yeah, it's crazy. So there was like one song that like me and actually Heath Allen that we kind of like wrote together, and then we were kind of working on it and piecing things together. And then he had some health things show up, and he was kind of my main vein to all that stuff. And so then it paused, and then it hasn't been picked back up. It's not like it has gone anywhere. I mean, the notes still exist,
Sure.
the lyrics still exist. It's all still there. But I was kind of okay with it, I guess. It's not like I felt there's artists that are like, oh God, I need to record or I need to write or I need to like have this whatever. I
It's not a
honestly
drive.
will say, yeah.
Yeah.
I will honestly say my drive with music is performing. I love being a performer. I love it.
You're very good on stage.
Thank you. And that's what I like. Like, I like being that. And I guess maybe it's that Sagittarius thing, right? It's being the center of attention.
Maybe.
And I remember I told that to my mom. I was like, I guess maybe it's kind of egotistical, but the reason I like to perform is because I like everyone staring at me. I like,
Right.
joking around and performing and all this stuff, but it's the performance side of it and putting on a show that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I probably have that same thing in my life, but mine's more improv and with my friends or my children. It's more like being a funny guy around people.
Funny guy.
Funny guy. I tried stand up. Danny T
Yeah.
was my first guest, and he was a great teacher. When I get up on stage in front of people and try to make them laugh, maybe it's a little bit different than when you're singing because you're not just singing. Is not what I mean to say, but you're not expecting a response. You might expect applause, but you're not expecting laughter and eliciting laughter out of somebody for something that you've thought about saying in front of a group of people for a very long time, and you've taken notes, and I guess it is kind of the same, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, on faces too, right? Like when I'm performing, I'm always, if I can, sometimes the lights are too bright and I can't see shit.
Right.
But if I can, even if there's a few people like in the front that I can kind of like pick on or that they're responding and I can kind of,
Bring them in.
yeah. There's something, because I've always said with performing, yes, it's the performance, but it's also the crowd. If you have a dead crowd, it's like fucking pulling teeth. And
Yeah.
it's so hard for you because you're not getting anything back. Where if you feel like they're active or, you say, because I do make jokes in my shows and I do like, fuck around and stuff.
You do. And you also say to the crowd, hey, this is a jazz club.
I always do.
If you guys can talk,
Yep.
you guys, this is, you
Hang
go
out.
order drinks,
Yep.
have a good time.
I always relate it to the Lutheran church bring up where you're sitting in the pew and you're listening to everything and you're very well behaved. And I appreciate the sentiment, but that's not how it works here.
It's hard. I will say that it's like, I love that you say that. And I would love to have everybody like break off and start like having conversation because I feel like I would feel like I was in a movie at that point in time, right? Because that's what it would
It's like
feel
a
like to me.
soundtrack.
And I love that in my life. So I will say that I've gone to strip clubs before because I wanted to feel like I was in with Axel Foley, what is that, Beverly Hills Cop, because
Sure.
they were in that, and so I'm not even really there to like tip women or get lap
Do you-
dances. I just want to be in a movie type environment.
Do you remember the name of the strip club you used to go to?
A win.
A Win?
No. What do you mean? Like the strip club?
I thought you were saying that was the strip club name. Like you're gonna
No,
get
no,
a
no, no,
win.
no, no,
And
no,
I was
no,
like,
no.
hey, that might actually
That
no,
might
like
work.
a strip.
Yeah.
The strip club.
The first strip club I went to was called the Dream Palace.
The Dream Palace.
It was in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was
Okay.
16 years old.
Okay. Was there one that you ever like kind of regulared
I don't.
where you were living?
No.
Okay. Jeremy did.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, best strip club name ever. I tell this
Jeremy.
to anyone. Oh no, it's fine. I tell this to anyone that will listen. The name of the strip club in Santa Fe, New Mexico was named Cheeks.
Cheeks, nice.
Isn't that just the best strip club name?
I always thought it would be cool. My best friend, a time ago, he came up with the idea of calling it the church.
The church?
Like I'm going to the church.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go worship.
gonna go-
Right.
They're all like dressed as slutty nuns. They
Yeah,
they just go to Spirit Halloween.
well, I think
That's what
I truly
happens.
think women are worth worshiping, so
Oh,
it kind of makes
yes.
sense.
Yeah,
So
we do bring life into the world, so there is
that's true.
something to that.
That is true. Sometimes when you're not murdering babies, we're back to that.
Save some, murder some.
Yeah. So where the fuck? So the movie type environment of that jazz club and having just a good-looking blonde in a slinky red dress by a piano, singing, and people are like casually, socially talking and stuff like that. Sounds amazing. When you're on the stage, I think most of us are just want to hear you sing.
Yes.
So I get it's a huge compliment, but you're also like, fucking do something else. Quit looking at me.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be this way.
It's okay. It's if I can get people to loosen up just a little bit, it's okay, because I do understand the want to sit and watch me, and it is a compliment, especially like for a song that really brings it down, like a ballad or something that's more like heart-wrenching or something like that. I really do get it, because it'd be weird if like, Danny, I need another drink, like when I'm singing my heart out.
Right.
But so it's a combination. I don't want people to feel like they have to sit there and clutch their pearls, but I also understand and appreciate if people want to just sit and listen. I get it.
I think the real problem is that the people who would like to like converse, it's so quiet other than you at that point. And so then you feel like you're ruining everybody else's experience.
I know. As my mom's like looking back at you like,
yeah, what are you doing? That's my baby girl up there.
God, she's worked years to get here. How dare you ruin this moment?
So let's talk about that. What led you to singing? I know that you studied, I think, at Drake.
Yep.
What did you study?
I studied vocal performance and musical theater.
Okay.
So I grew up in Minneapolis when I was in like third grade. Actually, not like, I can tell you right now, it was third grade.
Okay.
Because we did this production of Wizard of Oz. And I, of course, wanted to be Dorothy. And I say production in a very loose sense of the word production. It was in our like high school or like our elementary school cafeteria.
Sure.
With the stage, right? It was like the stage was right,
The stage right in the cafeteria.
It's like always smelled like hot dogs. Anyway, and I really wanted to be Dorothy, and I remember I like auditioned, and Mrs. Smythe, who was my teacher, she was like, "Oh wow, you're really good." And then because I didn't really look like Dorothy, because apparently that's what matters in third grade, I got Auntie M because I was really tall, because I growth spurted really, really early in life. I was super tall really early. And like all the dads were like, "You should play basketball." And my parents were like, "Nah, she shouldn't. She's not good at that."
No.
So anyway, that's when I realized I was like, okay, I might actually be good at singing. So then I did grow up Lutheran. I'm not Lutheran anymore, but I did grow up Lutheran, and I went. I did like the kids choirs, and I was very involved in all that shit. And so then when I graduated high school, I was like, well, what do I do? And I was like, well, I've always been the music kid, so I guess I'll do that. So I went to Drake for vocal performance, musical theater. And so I studied opera, actually.
Wow.
So I did, it was, music school is fucking hard. It's fucking hard. It's not, people don't understand how hard it is. It's a lot of work. I mean, you're in the practice room and into the middle of the night, just trying to crank out stuff. I sang in Italian, I sang in German, I sang in French, English, Russian.
Why?
And it's part of the curriculum.
Okay.
And then you also have to memorize all of that. So you have to put on a showcase of this operatic music that's like maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours long.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Hour and a half or 2 hours long every year. And you have to sing in all these languages, and it has to all be perfectly memorized. And then you have your professor sitting in there and just writing and like ticking boxes and either complimenting you or ripping you apart. It was really hard. So then when I got out of college, I was like, well, what do I want to do? Because I did some of the cattle call stuff like for musical theater. Okay. And that just wasn't the lifestyle I wanted. I may be a Sagittarius and maybe a wanderer, but I do like having a home base.
Sure.
And that just wasn't my style. And opera, I loved the performance side of opera, but I didn't love opera as a whole. Like I went to school with people who were like, I love everything about opera. I love everything about it. Where me, I was like, again, I believe that you should perform the stuff that you love. And I was like, I don't really want to go to graduate school or get my doctorate, which is what you do.
Right. It's not what I do, but yeah.
Yeah. So if you ever see a very established opera singer, they're most likely
A doctor of
doctorate
opera?
of opera.
I'm the
Yeah.
doctor of opera.
Doctor of opera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you, I've never been to an opera, but I would love to go.
I mean, they're cool. It's so grandiose and so
I can only think of
and the voices are amazing. I mean, it's like the ultimate way to use your instrument, but it's just I don't want to sit and listen to opera music. And there are people who do, and they fucking love it.
I think they do. The two opera things that I can think of that come to mind for me right now, and this is a joke but not
Ready?
a joke. Do it. Did you beat me? I mean,
Does it
done.
sound like a Busch Light commercial?
Yeah. All right, my turn. Ready?
Ready? Oh,
mine was way more masculine.
yours was
than yours.
way better. Yeah, mine was
Yeah.
kind of puny.
Mine was a bro, one of those bro.
Yeah.
What do they call it? The Budweiser thing, the Bud Light, where they're like,
Yeah.
we're not doing the
Real
bro,
man
whatever.
of
Yeah.
Genius. That's how I sound when I sing too. By the
Two
way.
operas that I remember is Bugs Bunny, where it's killed a wabbit, right?
Killed a
Yeah,
wabbit,
it's Elmer the
killed a
Fudd. Yeah,
wabbit.
I remember that one.
Yep.
That's pretty much the only opera that I remember seeing. And then Fifth Element with the lady Paola Laguna or whatever singing.
There's opera
Whoever that
in
was.
so many pop culture things
Yeah.
that people don't even
Realize.
which is awesome. But yeah, it just wasn't my life. My life.
You weren't going to travel from
Choice.
place to place.
Well, that was more the musical theater side. Opera, you could get, and you could do this with musical theater too, I guess. But more so in opera, you get into an opera house. It sounds like it's like a brothel. Like
If you're lucky.
yeah, exactly.
That's so we've got to create a brothel here and call it the opera house.
And call it the opera house.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then you get associated with like, and so you have like a contract for like 5 years or whatever, and then maybe you go to another one and so there's some moving around, but not quite as much with like musical theater where it's like you move to New York and you should live in the shitty apartment and you go to cattle calls. And
Then
when I
you
say
get on a
cattle call,
bus.
they call them a cattle call because it's like you're fucking
Tons of
cattle.
people. Yeah.
And you go in and maybe you get noticed, maybe you don't get noticed. And then you get on for a national tour and then you go do the national tour and you're
So
never
is
really
the
home.
national tour the thing that I see when I go to the Center of Performance Arts, whatever?
The Civic Center?
The Civic Center. And then those
And
people
so there's
have
different-
gone through a cattle call and then they were good enough to be in the show.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's different castings. Like there might be like a top. I don't know if in Des Moines do we get the top. I mean, they're all amazing. I mean,
They're
fucking
definitely
incredible.
amazing.
They're fucking incredible.
I can't imagine the people that I've seen. If there are better people, then those
Yes.
people are out of this world. They're aliens.
Yes.
Because the people who have come here and performed for us the last season were phenomenal.
Yeah. So I don't know because I just know it's not like there's always one touring group. There's sometimes like to my understanding, I could be wrong, but I believe there's like a few.
I could see that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe there's like, New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, LA,
Yeah.
Dallas, who knows?
Well, and who wants to drive from New York to Phoenix or Los Angeles?
But that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
that's all it is,
lifestyle.
yeah.
And there's
Can you
peop-
imagine the drama?
Fuck me. Everyone's fucking everybody. I can tell you
Man.
that right now.
I can't even
right
imagine.
now. Like
And all the anger and all the angst. And,
okay,
And like,
doing the theater thing, like when I was at Drake, because I definitely like hung out with the music kids, but I really clicked with all the theater kids, and they're fucking. That was nice.
bad. Yeah.
They were crazy. I used to. There was a guy that I dated who wasn't like in that world, and he was like, "Parties are so crazy," and I was like,
No clue.
"Come to a theater party, my friend."
Oh my God.
Like, everyone's making out with everybody. Everyone's fucking everybody else. He was like, there's a naked person over there. And I was like, nah.
Big fucking
yeah. Someone's puking outside. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like, theater parties were crazy. They were crazy.
You know what else is crazy? High school band
Oh,
situations. Marching band. So when I was younger, I was athletic. I was on the football team. I was on the stuff. And I would have thought that those parties were crazy.
no.
And then knee injury, no longer the football guy.
Yeah.
I one of my best friend in high school, God rest her soul, she talked me into being the mascot. And they were getting rid of the mascot, and we were the Westwood Warriors, and it was a Indian warrior basically, right? And I'm about as white as could be.
Yeah.
And I did that gig for my senior year.
I like to call it a gig.
It is a gig. It's all acting. And, backflips, front flips, throwing a javelin, like you name it, I was doing it. And, but I was a part of the band. It was a band function. And then I would have to ride on the bus with these, back then I used to call them, not a good name, I won't say it. And because a lot of my friends were in the band, so I would give them a hard time. Say it. No. I'll tell you later. Okay. And then you'll understand.
You don't want it recorded.
Then you'll understand. All right, I'll say
in
it.
history.
I'll say it. Back when I was a kid, I lovingly would call my friends band fags.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And on this bus,
I'm done with this podcast.
I think I was accosted more on this bus than I've ever been in my entire life. Girls sitting next to me, putting their hands on me. It was the strangest thing. I was like, what is in the water around these band people? It was nuts. And so I don't know if it's a performative thing.
I think in my experience with like band kids, it was more like they were actually quite straight-laced, but then like got amongst their other people and kind of became a little more freeform.
Really?
Again, in my experience with band kids, because we would have some band kids that would like filter into, or instrumentalists, I should say.
Yeah.
When I was in college, that would kind of maybe filter into the occasional theater party, and they were like, they would just have a great time.
Yeah.
Because it was
They're
everything.
probably remembering high school
everything
bus
goes
drives with the marching band.
Yeah, everything goes. But no, I mean, in choir kids, they could get, weird too. But a lot of the kids I think of in like high school that were more straight laced and then like got to college and had more freedom. Yeah. All of a sudden, like they went like crazy.
I could see that
because they were so, suppressed at one point.
Maybe.
And then they had no one telling them no. And they're like, I can get alcohol from where and do what? And they want to do that with me. And then
Do you play any instruments?
I technically play piano. Unfortunately, so the downside of going to like, for me at least, going to vocal performance, you have to invest so much time into that one skill that I actually lost a lot of my piano stuff. Mm-hmm. Can I still read music? Of course I can. I'm a musician. Can I play the piano? Sure. Am I good at it or am I proficient at it? Not anymore. When I was in high school, I used to do like piano competitions and stuff though. But that's kind of the sad side of like when you really have to hone one skill. Like I remember I took piano lessons when I was in college and I remember my professor like totally understood. She's like, I get why you're not acing this right now because you have all this other shit to learn and all this other shit to perform that actually like you can see has a result and that you're prioritizing.
Right.
And yeah, I did. And when I was in college, and not only was I a student, but I also worked because I had to pay rent and I still wanted to be a college student and go to parties and stuff. So I remember like getting off of work and like taking a quick shower,
right.
slapping on makeup and being like, let's rage. Like
I had a friend once tell me that, not heavy metal. What's a step above heavy metal? What's one where they're just screaming?
Is that like black metal?
Like maybe rage music. I don't really know what to call it. But they tried to convince me that person screaming, their voice was basically an instrument. Even though you couldn't hear the words or understand the words, it was almost like an instrument instead of being yelling anger at me.
That's like what is art? What is an instrument, right? Is this an instrument? I guess.
You're thinking death metal.
Death metal.
metal?
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I don't know. Sure. I'm not going to be the one to say that it is or isn't.
I don't know. I thought maybe you'd have some insight for me on that one. Man. I mean, I don't know. I don't really like it.
Are they using their vocal folds in a certain way? I guess.
I think the thing is I've heard some death metal where I'm like, man, that I can see where that I don't understand a fucking word he's saying, but
yeah.
I like it.
Like Norwegian death metal.
Maybe, I don't know, but I just thought that's
need those
very
like
odd.
half of the year pitch black countries to really come out with the hardcore
Yeah,
death metal
leave
music.
leave it to Germany to come out with Rammstein or whatever.
No,
and
it's
do
like
Hast.
Finland and shit.
Yeah.
Like Finland and Norway and
Yeah.
stuff. They fucking love
Well,
death
when you have
metal.
to live in the dirt under rocks, I guess. I don't know.
Is
like
that how it
hobbits.
works?
No, I don't know.
Winter
I completely made
winter
that up.
comes and they go under their giant
Well,
rock.
if you think about it, you probably would want a geothermal under the ground.
Burrow into
burrow
the-
in.
burrow
Yeah,
into-
I don't know.
into the lava rock. This is my home now.
This is where we live now, children.
They all come out like scrawny.
So, what is your next step? You're not doing your music, but you're. I'm
I
sorry,
am.
You're not.
I'm doing music. I'm not doing.
You're not
like,
recording.
my music.
Right.
I'm just honestly, Rich.
I feel like you've stepped up your gigs a little bit. I feel like you're.
Yeah. I
doing
gig
more
as much as I
performances.
can. I kind of take, other people do bookings, and so I'm not saying like I have an agent. I don't. I'm not that fancy.
You need one because I'll be it.
No, I'm good. Wait.
I think I could sell you.
Do I have to pay you?
No.
Okay, then yeah, you can be my
Yeah,
agent.
okay,
Okay.
That's amazing.
If it doesn't involve me giving you a payout, then I'm 100% for it.
My payout would be able to go see you perform
I love
all
that.
over the place.
I love that. So yeah, I do. I honestly am just really happy with where I'm at, which is a really cool place to be because I, just about 2 years ago, it was right at the end of October 2 years ago, I quit my full-time job to teach yoga and perform full-time.
Nice.
And to be able to look at where I'm at now, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like I'm really proud of where I'm at because it's all been, it's been kind of a crazy, crazy ride to get where I'm at. So I try not to be too focused on the what's next because I was really raised in that mindset of like, you could never really be satisfied. That's always like, you have to push harder and what's next. And I love that idea in the sense of like having a goal, but I also want to enjoy where I'm at. And I'm really proud of where I'm at.
Do you have a goal?
No,
No.
I really don't.
Well,
I'm
you're
doing
Sagittarian. Most Sagittarians don't have goals.
no. I've just kind of taken the ride, and
Do you find that things just come to you?
Yeah.
I could use some money, and then all of a sudden something happens, and you're like, oh, this gig's
well,
coming in.
even like so my other job, right? I teach yoga full time.
Yep.
And when I first quit my job, I remember reaching out to Power Life, and I was like, I want to teach yoga full time. I'll take whatever you fucking got. I don't care when it is. I don't care what it is. Like whatever. So then I went through even more training. And now I have a schedule that I'm really happy with. And I teach corporate and I teach all over the place. Mm-hmm. And again, it wasn't something I sought out. I made myself, I guess, open to it in the sense that I told people I taught yoga full time. I wasn't like secretive, like, hey, by the way,
yeah, right.
I teach a really good yoga class. Like, so obviously, yes, I advertise myself in that way, but not overly. And then it just kind of, my time filled up. And I was like, now I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, holy shit. Like I can pay my bills with just teaching yoga and singing.
Right.
And it's
it's a gig life, right?
Yeah, but it's pretty fucking cool.
Because yoga's was more of a gig than I thought it was going to be when I started teaching it.
100%.
And
it's a performance, man.
It's definitely performance.
It's a performance.
Yeah.
Like, I think about that every day. That like I know that when people see my singing stuff, like that's a performance. Both my jobs are performances.
Which one's harder though to perform? One you've been doing for a long time. One you haven't been doing for a long time.
Harder?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it really depends on the audience.
I
If I have a really receptive class or a receptive audience, it makes it a lot easier. I can say to both of those, if I have an audience that's like Deadsville and just it's hard to get them to do what I want them to do, then it's hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever taught a class that was supposed to be for multiple people and only one person showed up?
I did COVID classes, which was like
where you just taught one person. It was like
one person
and you
and
were
a
standing
camera.
like 15. Oh no! I'm talking about when you're in a studio.
Yes.
That's meant for 30 people.
Oh.
And only one person shows up.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. I've only done that twice.
Yeah.
And it was maybe it was because I was a guy and it was a female. And when you're like trying to cue poses or whatever, but you have to watch the person, but then you feel like this is lurky. Like, what's going on here?
Getting that down dog.
That was tough. That was
Yeah.
so tough.
Yeah, I would say probably as a female I actually did it to a guy and it
Yeah.
was perfectly fine.
Yeah, sure.
And I actually modified the class a little bit too because I was like, let's change this
Right.
up. Yeah, I've done all the things. I've taught to 50 people and I've taught to one or two.
Have you ever thought to give vocal lessons or start teaching people how to sing?
No, I went through study for that when I was in school. That was also part of vocal performance is like vocal lessons, but it's not my passion.
No, okay.
I don't really care if
I
anyone
just
else
thought
can
since
sing.
I thought of the question because you instruct yoga
Yeah,
and that's a teacher role,
yeah,
and I thought maybe it would blend
yeah.
over.
And I do really, really like that. And when I did a little bit, like when I was studying it, like vocal pedagogy is what it's called. And we did like practice teaching and stuff like that. I did enjoy it. It just wasn't something I decided to dive into, I guess. Like I said, especially with the music stuff, I really just like performing.
Yeah.
It's a very I've kind of accepted that, that's who I am and that's what I like and that's okay. Where at one point I was like I almost felt like it was kind of egotistical, like I said, where I was
Right.
like, oh God, like, is that okay that this is really all I like? I'm like, no, it is. That's what I'm good
definitely
at,
okay.
and that's what I enjoy,
Sure.
and so fuck it, and that's what I do.
Sure.
And yeah, in yoga, I enjoy seeing my students progress, and I enjoy seeing it's not even like in the room though. It's more so the stuff that they tell me after, like, oh, your message really meant a lot to me, or
Right.
that assist you gave me, which is like the hands-on assist, right, really changed my practice, or I teach corporate yoga, and I had one guy come up to me. He's like, "Oh my God, I can I got out of the shower and I was drying off my feet and I
Right.
was standing on one foot and I didn't even realize it." And I was
Right.
like, "Fuck yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about." Like that, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's also fun to see somebody transitioning inside of one of those classes if they're a regular in your class because it works in their time
Yep.
frame, and
Yep.
after a year later, you're like, your practice is so
like,
much
Jesus
better.
Christ,
Yeah,
like, you got it.
Do you
Yeah.
even know it? I've asked some
Yeah.
of my students when I was a teacher, do you even notice it? And they're like, I don't know. I've just come here, and because it's so minimal for them.
Yeah.
But like for you or for me, I'm
Yeah.
like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's
you're
crazy.
You're like doing the stuff now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The progression that you see and the confidence that you see in people too and I teach people between Power Life and my corporate classes and stuff. I teach people of all shapes and sizes,
Right.
and seeing people who like don't regularly, wouldn't say like, oh, I have a really physical lifestyle. I love working out, or I love,
Right.
fuck, I don't either. Like, it's not like I'm not the person going to the gym every day.
Right,
Like
right.
I do yoga because I fucking love it, and I
Right.
really enjoy the actual practice of it and the breath. And it's kind of like dance.
The connection.
Yeah.
The people.
And for me, I grew up in dance, and like the breath to movement, like vinyasa flow, just feels really good for me. It feels very expressive.
It's kind of fun being in a room of people and not being in the room of people at the same time.
Yeah, you're like in your own.
Like you don't even really know. Like when it starts, if you even know that the people are around you,
Yeah.
you're probably not doing yoga right.
Yeah.
There's no wrong way to do yoga, but
Yeah.
also, if you start noticing other people, like the only time I really notice people when I think they're actually gonna fall into me.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like I'm like,
or you're trying to
I might
balance,
get
and that
crushed
person
by
in front
this
of you
guy
is like,
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're in a balanced pose, like, and you shut your eyes down, but then you're like, it's much more difficult. And you open up your eyes, and the person in front of you is like swaying back and forth, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, this isn't helping either.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I got off a tangent, but but like having people of like different shapes, different sizes, different experiences, and having them like come back still every single week
Oh, and
because
keep
it just
going.
makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Or makes them, it's like, oh, my lower back problems are better, or it just feels good to move. Or yes, there's parts of classes that are really challenging, but I love the stretching because it's kind of a
Yes.
combination of all that. Or having the heat allows
Right.
them to kind of dig a little bit
Or
deeper.
just to be around people. Maybe like for
Yeah.
me, I work from home, so sometimes it's nice to just like go into a room of people that I don't know,
Yeah.
that I care about, but I don't care about. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And I'm just like around people, and there's somebody telling me what to do. I don't have to think.
Oh, isn't that the best part?
Yeah, and you just let go.
Yeah.
And you just do the thing, and then
Yep.
afterwards you're like, you've got this weird numb sensation in your body.
Mm-hmm.
It would yoga drunk, and you're just like, you're just kind of like, oh man, what's going on? And then you're like,
Yeah.
it's just the most amazing feeling.
Yeah. And when I started, I remember when I told, like, again, my folks, I was like, I'm going to become a yoga teacher. And they're like, really? Because
Yeah.
I was never into, like, physical.
Sure.
I was the music kid.
Right.
I spent all my time doing that. But it's like I found this one thing that was physical that I really, really liked and that I would really try at,
Right.
like when a really difficult posture. Like I finally have mastered hurdlers.
Right.
And that was like one that I like got into and I was like, I landed and I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
and I was like, fuck yeah.
I don't know that. So, I'm going to be 50 here in a couple days.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'll ever hit some of those poses.
Yeah.
But I love watching people try them. Like,
Yeah.
especially when younger kids get in there and they're like, they start working it. And then I think to myself, man, if I could go back to myself when I was 20 and say, do this shit Madonna's doing because there's something for it,
Yeah.
and just doing it, it would have been the best thing that ever happened.
One of my nephews, Dane, who's the younger one, he, for some reason really decided, he's a very active child, but he, for some reason decided that he really wanted to like learn how to do the splits. And that wasn't me like yoga or anything. It was just his own little world where he was like, I'm going to do the fucking splits. So he like comes to my house over this. They always visit for 4th of July. Comes over and he's like, Auntie Lauren. And he's like fucking like death drops into it.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And I was like, what the? And my husband was like, oh my God. Like, but he was like so proud. So then what I did is I have like a big book of like yoga postures, right? Like the master book of yoga postures. Some that I will never, ever, ever
absolutely.
do. Ever. And others, it's just good for reference and for like the names and stuff too. So I was like, okay, let's play a game. So I gave him the book and I was like, just flip to a page and we'll try to we'll try to do it.
Oh, nice.
Let's see if we can do it. So that was fun. We played that game. And
he's probably a lot more bendy.
He's pretty bendy, but they're stistill little. They don't have any body awareness.
Right.
Like when you say right leg and they like lift their left arm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not quite.
I remember when I was in high school, I was self-taught gymnast. I had a friend who knew how to do backflips and stuff, and so we just kind of went out in the middle of the football field and started learning how to do this stuff. Well, back then, Jean-Claude Van Damme was pretty big deal, and he could go. There was a movie where
how old are you again?
50.
50. Okay, so you're pretty close to my husband's age.
Jeremy's age.
Yeah.
And there's a movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme jumps up and does the splits, and he lands on cabinets or countertops.
Yes.
And so that was my goal, like your nephew, to do that, and I obtained it at one. Absolutely, I did. Couldn't do it now to save my life, and I do more yoga now than I did back then. So
well, you're a lot older.
yeah.
You're a lot older.
Yeah,
so it's hard to break.
There's some breakdown going on.
There is.
Does Jeremy do yoga? Mm-mm. No.
He grew up a wrestler.
Yeah, me too.
And a boxer.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of punching out windows, right?
Sure. Concussions, did he?
Golly, his nose was really fucked up for a while because he claims that he was not the instigator in the bar fights.
Sure.
He said that he was just coming to his friend's defense who were hot-headed,
of course,
right?
Why not?
Yeah. But yeah, his nose was fucked up, and so then he got his nose fixed, but because he had gotten clocked, I think, a few too many times. But so yeah, he grew up wrestling and boxing, but he is a really which I actually appreciate, and it works for us. Like, it's your thing, enjoy it. Like, I think if I really was like, I really want you to come to one of my classes, like if it meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
He totally would.
Yeah, sure.
But
I'm sure he would.
Yeah, but it's not. I'm really.
You're not driven by that.
No,
Yeah.
And I'm okay with the fact that he has always just kind of respected that as like my space.
This is your thing. I've got my thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how we function.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of.
That's a good way to
we're
function.
Very.
I think.
We have our lives, and then we come together.
Not everybody's like that, but.
Yeah, we are each other's favorite person, and that's really all that matters.
Right.
Yeah, so we can always come together at the end of the day, but no, we do function very separately because like the stuff he does like construction stuff. I couldn't put together a cabinet if you paid me.
Right.
Like, that is not how my brain works. Where him, that's totally how he functions.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to put together cabinets if somebody paid me. So, Hopefully nobody ever tries to pay me for that.
Yeah, well, they should pay you because it's a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is a pain in the ass. I agree.
So we bought a house in Beaverdale,
Okay.
and it's like a 1950s brick ranch home, and
All of them are,
love
aren't
it,
they? Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just love my house. And it was really, the woman who had it before us took really good care of the house, but it just needed some love.
Yeah.
Right? It needed some
Old.
updating.
Yeah.
whatever.
70-some years old, 75
Exactly.
years old. Yeah.
And so when we moved in, Jeremy and his dad actually did a lot of work to it. We updated the wood floors and all that shit. Well, he decided to paint the cabinets, which they desperately needed it because they're like the original like wood built-in cabinets, right?
Right.
From like the 50s. And he was in there and he was painting, and he apparently like had his head in the cabinet because they're super deep, and went up and like chunked his tooth.
Oh no.
So he didn't fucking tell me because that's just the kind of person he is.
Sure.
He lived so long.
He's a dude.
He lived so long without a wife. Why
Sure.
would he tell his wife that he injured himself?
Yeah, he's gonna survive.
So then it was like a week later, and he like gets a hold of me. This is when we were still working together at the restaurant, and he was like, "I had to get my tooth pulled," and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, what are you talking about?" So he comes to work. He's like, got like a gat back here. And I was like, what the fuck happened? And he's like, oh, well, when I was painting the cabinets, I think I broke it. And I was I was like, and one, why are you here?
Right.
You just got a giant molar pulled out of your face. Go home. He didn't.
No.
And two, why didn't you tell me? He's like, oh yeah, I was up all last night. I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
So much pain. I was like, and you didn't wake me up.
Well, it's probably for another podcast, but what the reason is because men of our generation were told to walk it off, rub dirt on it. Boys don't cry.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, we were so fucked over by our parents.
Well, and he grew up like, I remember asking him, I was like, because he grew up in like rural Iowa, right? Like no stoplight town. And I remember being like, what did you guys do? Like, he's like, we used to beat each other up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. When I was a kid, we had a fight club. Where
did you grow up?
I was a military brat.
I know you were.
Yeah.
But
Germany, Japan, Belgium, all over.
You moved that much? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we were kids, we didn't really...
So you formed a fight club wherever you went?
Oh, yeah. I think in Germany we had a fight club. And then I stopped when...
I feel like a German fight club would be scary.
Well, it wasn't... They weren't Germans. We were all Americans. We were on base. But I remember the two leaders of the two rival fight clubs.
Yeah.
They wanted me to fight my buddy John. I had this little buddy. He was a little Filipino kid. He was a little Filipino kid, and his mom was Filipino, and his dad was white, and his name was John. We were little pals, and they decided to pit us against each other.
What kind of asshole
do
you need to be up a kid named John?
I didn't. I left. We were done. We looked at each other. We're done with here. We went home. It was kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy, some of the shit that we did as kids, because we didn't have video games. No. We didn't get to talk to people and play video games. And one dude's in Scotland, one girl's in Norway, and there's a couple people in America, and we didn't get to play games with each other. So we had to go out and figure out what to do. When I got out of school, and probably Jeremy too, we would go to the ballpark and play baseball. We would find some sport to play or something. It was never anything,
No, but especially for him, like growing up in like rural Iowa, it was like the safest. There was no question of like safety fine. Or
we had
you had to call one person or another mom.
I think
or
we
figure
had
out
that
where
everywhere, really, because I remember I just had to be inside by the time the lights came on outside. Yeah,
and I was at the cusp of that, right? Like I definitely. My parents weren't the first to like get the internet and cable. Like I grew up. My favorite thing to watch late at night was not Nickelodeon, was not Disney Channel. It was the infomercials on regular fucking TV. I loved infomercials.
Yeah, hearing about the products and stuff.
I loved it. The cooking ones and the cleaning ones were my favorite. Workout ones, waste of time. Chuck Norris, take your fucking machine, get out of here.
You'd have hated my life.
Why?
We had one station. It was called AFRTS. We called it AFARTS. And whatever was on, you had to watch. So if Hee Haw was on, you had to watch that shit. If General Hospital was on, you had to watch that shit. There was no changing the channel.
Yeah.
In Belgium, we didn't have any TV. We lived on a very tiny base.
Yeah.
And there was no channel, so we didn't even have. You had to have a converter to convert your TV over to their electric system.
Yeah.
If you were ever going to use it.
Sure.
So we didn't, but it was their stuff. I remember one time when we lived in Belgium. My grandmother would send us tapes of stuff, so we would watch VHS tapes of American cartoons and stuff like that. Well, one time she sent us a tape that had 2 videos on it. It had Michael Jackson's Thriller on it, and it had Billy Joel, Uptown Girl, I think, was on it. And we walked. We lived in a tiny neighborhood. It was a rural neighborhood in the middle of like cow pastures and stuff. We walked and we grabbed all of the Belgian neighbors because we knew they were so big on Michael Jackson. And we pulled them all in. It was hard to get them. We're like, come on, come on, come on. You're like, we're like Lassie would do. Timmy's in a well.
Yeah.
And so we finally got all the neighbors in this tiny community, maybe a 20 household community. We had them all in and we hit that in, and then Michael Jackson's Thriller came on, and they went fucking crazy, like bonkers. They couldn't believe they were watching this.
Yeah.
Looking back on that, I was just a little kid. I had no idea that would be their reaction. We were thinking, oh my God, these guys are going nuts.
Yeah.
But my parents knew that they would absolutely love that. And I imagined that their next day was talking to everybody that they knew at work, wherever, about they saw Michael Jackson's Thriller, blah, blah, blah. They didn't even know how to communicate with us. Like, hey, how do we get in on that action? Or can I bring a friend over to watch it? Like, they didn't even know how to, like, just crazy. Our neighbor was learning English, and so he would invite me and my brother over to dinner with his family so that he could practice his English on us.
Huh.
Yeah, it was wild life.
That is crazy. That is crazy. But I mean, think like for anyone, Thriller when it came out.
Oh yeah.
What a big
big deal.
The production of
big
it
deal.
and my God.
But that stuff back then, remember, there was no internet and things took forever to get across.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they were watching it way before anybody was going to ever see it was pretty amazing to them.
Yeah, isn't that crazy though? Like thinking
crazy.
about like how the internet has changed, like all that stuff,
Changed everything.
How fast,
absolutely,
and how quick things go away, how quick they come, how quick they go. But
okay, so you've got a couple shows coming up.
I do.
Talk about it.
I'm at Louis Wine Dive this Sunday.
Okay.
In 2 days. Louis Wine Dive on University. I'm at the Mercantile. Which is in like Norwalk, I think, right? I should probably know that.
I don't know.
It's the Mercantile.
It's a Mercantile somewhere in Iowa. Yeah,
somewhere. Find a Mercantile. I might be there.
Yeah.
I have that the following weekend. And then I have my 2 Christmas shows, which is December 3rd and December 12th. December 12th, which is my birthday. It's going to be a big birthday party.
I'm going to be there. That's awesome.
So fun. Both are at 7 o'clock at Noche. And then I am in January. I can't remember the date. I'm at the Cedar Valley Winery, which is I think in Madrid. But I have never performed there, so that'd be really cool. Mercantile I've done. It's a cool little joint. It's like an old schoolhouse that they renovated that I'm convinced has ghosts in it.
Oh, that's cool.
But they've done a really, really good job. It's
nice.
It's just very well renovated. But the winery in January, I have no idea what to expect. But they have they're selling tickets that are $40 a table, and it's like max of 4 people per table, and you get like a bottle of wine, like a charcuterie board,
good.
right?
Yeah.
For $40, that's like $10 a person
great.
if you have like 4 people.
Yeah.
For food and a drink, which is a great
That's
deal,
amazing.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really know what to expect out of that stuff, but I'm really excited about my Christmas shows. I just can't believe it's coming up so fast.
It is.
It's bonkers.
We're almost there.
Right?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, let's wrap it up.
Okay. How do you want to wrap it up?
We're wrapping it up right now.
Right now?
Yeah, this is it.
You don't have like an end theme song that you're
We'll do it again.
Boo boo doo boo doo boo 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 boo. It's the Rich Show. Boo 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 doo boo 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 boo.
That's gonna be it now. Can I use that?
Please everyone.
Can I use that?
Please everyone come hear me sing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rich.
All right.
My pleasure.
Jake?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Did we do good?